They lean one direction, and it's not mine.
They get your financial prowess and her artistic ability, right?
Yeah. Somehow I feel like that's not typically how that works out, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you have the odds, like numerically, you've got the odds with you as far as just, if it's 1 out of 10 that they get both, like, you've got what, 23 kids. So
I'm almost there. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Hey everyone. It is 3:30 already. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. I feel like we were just with you all not that long ago. Here we are. Of course, when we were with you last, the market was ripping. Oh, wait, did I lose your audio or did you lose my audio?
No, I hear you.
Oh, okay. I hear you now too, but I didn't hear you for a minute there. I don't know if that was
for the people that are talking about the $1 membership to the opening playbook club or members area. So when you buy the membership for the opening playbook for $1, you should get an email welcoming you to that and giving you access to the members area. That email comes from our members platform, which is called One Click Trading. And so you should get like an email within 15 minutes, but probably within 5. Once you purchase that for $1, that comes from One Click Trading. The subject line should be something like "Welcome to the opening playbook," and that will give you access to the members area. If you already have one of our products, then you already have access to the members area. That should just add the opening playbook to that same members area, that same One Click Trading platform. You should then have another product in there called called Opening Playbook. And in there should be the extra training, the calculator, all the other materials. And then the link to the replays will take you to the YouTube channel where all the replays are held. Hopefully that answers the question about accessing the $1 material. If you did buy it for $1 and you did not get access to One Click Trading or did not get it added to your already existing One Click Trading access, then please contact either sales or customer support, or let me know in the chat and we'll get that taken care of. I think Nathan is leaving and coming back. I think he might have had some issue with his audio, so we will give him a minute to get back in. We do have just about 500 people in here so far and still people joining, so we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to get in as Nathan's getting his end fixed and we still have people coming in the room. We will get started momentarily.
I think my my internet's just bugging out a little bit because I've got the both streams up and everything else. So I'm just trying to see if I can shut down enough things to get it moving a little faster here.
I hear you cleanly on my end.
Okay, good.
And did before as well.
Good. Yeah. Dave, if you don't mind driving up to Pennsylvania, I do have a couple technical things that I'm struggling to work out here. I'm sure you could take a quick jaunt overnight, help me out tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. What? I'm sorry. You were asking me to get with you this evening? Is that what you were just asking me?
Oh, no, I wanted you to drive to Pennsylvania overnight so that you could.
Oh, drive to Pennsylvania.
You already said sure, and I think everyone heard it. So
yeah, they did. I mean, I stand up to my commitments. I'll be there.
No, as I'm getting my screen loading here, what's going on is that when I plug my my Ethernet directly into my modem, I get great internet. But then I also kill the Wi-Fi because for whatever reason, none of the other Ethernet ports in the modem are working. So like when I plug them into that Nighthawk router, the whole house doesn't have Wi-Fi. So it's either like I have good internet and no one has Wi-Fi, or I go through the modem, through the router, and then I have mediocre internet. So it's a pro and a con.
Sounds like I need a new router.
It does sound like that. That is exactly what it sounds like. I always blame Graham because Graham told me that I should buy this Nighthawk thing and it doesn't work, but it's actually has nothing to do with that. It's just an easy way to blame Graham. All right, so let's jump in. So the first thing, folks, we're going to do, because we're looking for earnings trades today. Now, by the way, I'm gonna toe the line of two extremes here, because we're gonna take a look at some crazy earnings trades here that are like, gambles, lotto picks, whatever you want to call them, and then I'm gonna transition and talk about weekend options, which has 100% win rate so far. So we're really going across the entire gamut here. But because we have 25 minutes left, we're going to start now. What I recommend is finviz.com. Really easy scanner. I'll pop it there in the chat for you guys if you want to click that. Finviz.com. And then if you click this screener button, which is like 2 over in the nav bar, that's where you can then sort by earnings dates. On this left side, you can go here. And what I do is I go to earnings today after the market. All right. So that's going to sort for earnings day after the market. And then I just copy this link and I open a new tab and I put that over and I do the same thing, except for I do earnings tomorrow before market open on the second tab. And that way, what I'm getting is I am getting both the earnings that are happening today after the market and the ones that are happening tomorrow before the market opens. In other words, I'm getting the entire list of the trades that can be made that will affect, right now between now and the market open. Then I just sort by market cap because I want to see the ones that have the most market cap. I'm typically focused on, the trades that have a little bit more action. And so I sort by market. You can see we don't have a ton of huge names coming up, but we do have some interesting names like the trade desk I mentioned usually has a big implied move. Team is on there. We've got Block, as Graham has been talking about, now XYZ. Gilead, which is a pretty interesting healthcare stock that's on the list. And then tomorrow, before the market opens, let me see what we have. Sorry, I'm moving slow here. Not a ton of big ones here either. In fact, the biggest market cap for tomorrow is only 63 billion, which is EOG. So we've got a relatively small group of stocks over the next, today's session and tomorrow's session in terms of actual market cap. Sorry guys, looks like I might have. Dave, did I pause out there? Or is it just on my end that it feels like I'm pausing?
So no, it's cutting out a little bit. I mean, it might seem worse on your end, but you did cut out for a second. Don't worry about the pausing of the video on your end when you're doing both, right. And you got the StreamYard up and the WisePub. It does look choppy, but the video is clean on the remote end.
All right. Well, I will try to keep grinding along here. Let me. Oh, sorry, I just knocked Dave off. That's not what I meant to do, but oh well. Sorry, Dave. Now let me flip over here because I also wanted to pull up the Lance scanner as well and share that screen. So let me pull that up here. Sorry, my whole computer. I should have shut down my whole computer's moving slow, not just my internet. So sorry, I was taking a minute even as I just flipped through sharing. Okay, so here are some of the entries today, and then what a lot of times we do if we're looking for some fun plays on earnings is we'll just kind of match up what do we see here that also corresponds to earnings. So for example, we saw Team on our list, and so if you type in Team here, you'll see we got a little bit of action. We've got some bearish and some bullish. Heavier on the bearish side here, but not massively extreme. Did we get anything for TTD? Oh, we do. We got, let's see, we've got about 500,000 there on the bearish side, another 100. So fairly heavy on the bearish side there. And then there was one other one that I wanted to check. Oh, we wanted to check XYZ. Let's check XYZ. That was the one that Graham's been calling out for a while, which, typically has some decent action. So XYZ. And mostly bullish here. A lot of bullish. Couple decent size bearish orders here. But so far, what I like, just off the top of my head for some plays, XYZ bullish. Yeah.
Can you just zoom in on that a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Kind of hard to read. There you go. Perfect.
All right. So we've got some XYZ bullish. You can see fair amount. And then I was just mentioning on TTD, we're a little more slanted to the bearish side here, especially with this big 845. So again, guys, full disclaimer, I'm going to take small size. I'm going to throw a dart out there on these earnings trades. This is more just to have some fun and to teach you how to structure trades than it is to recommend an earnings trade. I'm not here to recommend an earnings trade. I'm going off some basic information like what we're getting in the feed. I am not trying to say, hey, this is a high conviction trade. I will talk about a high conviction trade here in a little bit with weekend options, which has math and systems and data behind it. And if any of you guys aren't trading weekend options with me, we have a 100% win rate in 2025. So there's a strategy I have confidence with an edge. That's not what this is. This is kind of learning the structure and looking at some stuff. So let's start with just a couple contracts on a TTD short. We got heavy bearish and an XYZ long. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop sharing this for you guys. And I'm actually going to pull up my Thinkorswim platform. So let me flip over here. Let me move it actually over to my other screen. And I will share that with you guys. All right. And now you should see my Thinkorswim. I apologize on Thinkorswim. It's probably going to be a little bit small in terms of the actual text that you guys are seeing. Because it's just hard to zoom in enough on Thinkorswim to really see it. But don't worry, I'll walk you through it, and I'll type in. Guys, when I say I'm starting to share, you're probably 5 seconds behind me before you actually see it. So just give it a second, and then you'll typically see it. So let's start with TTD. Now, you can see here, the implied move on TTD is $11 on an $87 stock. So what's that, like a 13% expected move here on TTD. Like I said yesterday, pretty big expected move. So what happens is if I were to go, just place a regular put tomorrow, you can see how juicy and expensive these are. So if I go here and I buy this 565 put at the money, right, and I want TTD to go down, it's basically going to have to hit this entire expected move in order for me to make any money. Does everyone see that? You go down here, you look, here's the percent change today already, by the way. So you can see the stock moved down 2.5%. This option's only up 16%. That's a very small amount. That's because it's already battling that big implied move. And you can see here the expected move, the implied volatility, 300%, the expected move, $11 between now and tomorrow. So if we get that entire $11 move, we're hardly going to make anything on this call option. If you look at, if you add it to your filters or look at Robinhood, it'll even give you a break-even price on the actual option. What we want to do, typically what Graham and I will do, is we'll flip this around and we'll trade a spread. That way we can get a move much smaller than the $11 expected move and still get a nice ROI on the trade. So the easiest way to do that is, instead of looking at the singles, to flip this to the vertical. The vertical is going to preset up these spreads. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the debit spread. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to below the price because I'm looking for a net negative move. And I'm going to look to buy a spread below the current price. Now, my rule of thumb here, you guys can do this however you want. You could do a wrap order like Graham does. You could do a million other things. What I like to do is I like to buy one for about half the expected move. So this If this goes down $12, it'll basically be around $90. What I want to do is I'm going to trade it for like down $5. All right. So down $5 would be about $83. So in that case, I would buy the $83, $84 put spread. What that means is that I'm trading TTD with a line in the sand of under $83. If it finishes below $83 tomorrow, remember only giving it one day because today's Thursday, then I have a chance to more than double my money. How do I know how much I can make? Well, if I'm paying 40 cents and it becomes worth $1, then that means I'm going to make a net 60 cents on the trade. That's 150% ROI. So let me just type this one in the chat for you guys if you want to take it. You would be buying to open the $84 put. I'm not even going to put the expiration date, guys. This is all going to be tomorrow. It's just easier to type. This would be a debit of about 40. Okay, so again, I'm not even going to put the expiration date in there. We're always talking about tomorrow's expiration during this earnings class, and you should be able to get in this. So I'm just going to put a couple of these guys. Like I said, small size. This is just for fun. I'll start at 39 cents. I always try to cheat a little bit lower. And what's nice is Thinkorswim actually does the math for you. So you actually get the risk reward right there. Risking $195 to make $305. Obviously, a very, very small size trade. I'm not putting $5,000 in this. I'm putting a couple $100 in to see if we can get that. I started at 39 cents. If I don't get filled, then I will ratchet up to 41, 42 cents. Some of you guys didn't know the ticker. I'll add it to my thing here. We are on TTD. Now, I'm going to do something a little funky here. So I am taking this trade to the downside, right? Because I like, so again, this is the 83, 84. And of course, I typed it in backwards because that is what you do when you're talking and typing. Sorry, guys. Ignore my chat. This is classic Nate trying to type and talk at the same time. Sorry. I put it in backwards. Dave, that's your fault. You should type that in. No, I'm just kidding. I was
going to tell you, you can edit them. You can edit your own. But okay. I deleted the old one. So
okay. Sorry, guys. Keep a close eye on me because when I'm talking and typing at the same time, bad things happen. It is the 84, 83, and we are trading it for a debit of 40 cents. Okay. And what we want to happen on this is for price to go below 83. Now, this is a little bit interesting. I'm going to do something a little funky here for you guys just to show you. Again, this is not meant to be a trade recommendation. I just want to show you some things. A little funkiness here. Okay, so if I go, by the way, AMD up 5.5%. Let's go. Anyway, TTD. TTD is actually one of the stocks that I kind of like. It's one of the ones that took a massive beat with decent numbers. You can see this was back when I took coin and TTD in the same week and got blistered on both. But over time, it's actually a pretty decent stock. If you go and look over the last 10 years and then zoom this out, TTD is actually a pretty decent stock. It's taken some hits before, it's recovered. So some of the plays that I like right now are ones that had horrible earnings that are trying to kind of get back and catch up with the market. And so what I'm going to do, remember, I'm taking the bearish trade because that's what the order flow is. And by the way, let's check the option statistics real quick here. So if you check the option statistics, you'll see puts are weighing heavier. You can do this on Thinkorswim under today's option statistics. Puts are weighing a little bit heavier, but nothing too crazy. But just to get a little funky, I'm actually going to take a bullish trade on TTD as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a super beat trade. What that means is what happens if TTD actually crushes the market because it's one of these ones that has been beat before. It's kind of trying to catch up to the overall market. And what if it jumps from 88 to 105? You know, it takes a crazy, crazy move. I'm not going to go that far, but just as an example. Well, what I can do is I can do the same structure and come all the way up here to like a 98, 99, or 9900. What you'll see is that as you get near the tail end of the expected move, these start to become a lot cheaper. So for example, you could trade a $9,900 call spread for about 20 cents, which means if you hit that, it would be about a 400% ROI here if TDD beats expected move up to the upside. Now, I want to pause and say something very, very clearly, okay? Very, very clearly. The odds are, folks, I lose both of these trades. On TTD, the odds are that it actually finishes tomorrow between the two levels where I actually lose on both sides of the trade. But this is earnings fun, and so I'm taking some kind of more extreme ends. So in this case, if you wanted to buy, I'll do the 98.99, I think. Yeah, that's what I'll do. The 98.99. I don't like going over that $100 number. Sometimes that's a little bit of a area. And I'll put this one on for like 22, 23 cents. And that way I'm actually trading in both directions on TTD at the same time. Like I said, hopefully I don't need to repeat this too many more times. The odds are I'm going to lose both of these. That's why I'm putting a couple bucks into each one. But I'll put both of these on just to kind of show you these trade structures. So buy to open, $98 TTD call. Sell to open, $99 TTD call. And that should be a debit of about 20, let's see, it's bouncing a little bit, but let's say 23 cents there. All right, and again, that's tomorrow's expiration. Don't need to think twice about it. We're just doing tomorrow's expiration. So I'm going to dribble this back down to 23 and throw about $100 on this one just for fun, and we'll see what TTD does. All right, so that is in. A couple people said sound is breaking up. Guys, it's just on my end. My internet's been a little buggy today, so sorry about that. Okay, now the other one I want to do is XYZ. Now XYZ, if you look at, let's look at the chart first. XYZ been a big recovery stock. One of the ones that Graham and I like to potentially get all the way to all-time highs. But as you can see, this one's a little bit choppier. If you go, it's a great trend if you go back far enough. So if you go back far enough, boom, you see it, right? Looks like Carvana. Monster run and then blah. So it hasn't been able to get out of its way in a long while here, but it kind of is working back toward the top of this range. And I personally think they're going to hit $100 again over the next year. So I like it. I'm not playing them to hit $100 right now because we're literally playing tomorrow's option. So it don't matter if they hit $100 over the next year. It only matters what happens tomorrow. But I do like the bullish sentiment, and we've got some bullish optimism in the option chain as well. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to be a little more conservative and take a more of a wrap style order with a $77, $78 option. Gives us right about 100% ROI, one-to-one binary trade. Very likely, if it's a beat and goes up, we win. If not, we lose right around the current price. So this one is on XYZ. XYZ. Again, tomorrow's expiration, buy to open, the 77 call, sell to open, the $78 call. Now, again, I am doing these as spreads because I don't want to pay for the crazy option price and then have to get a huge beat to even get to break even. I want an easy binary way to double my money if I'm right, and I'll take the loss if I'm wrong. Yes, if you want to find the option statistics, it's right under options chain on your Thinkorswim. So under trade, and then underneath option chain, you have today's option statistics. You can see fairly even. Guys, on earnings, you're usually going to see pretty even numbers. Every once in a while, you'll see a really extreme one. We could check a couple others. We had team on here. Let's see if team is fairly even. It is 31 to 22. Nothing too crazy there. We had EOG that was on the list. Let's see what that is. Wow, apparently they have no volume. Apparently they have no options. Maybe it's just delayed. EOG showing no option. Let's see, what else did we have on there? We had TEM. We had ESNT. Oh, we forgot to check GILD. Let's check GILD. That's Gilead. That normally has a little bit of action. Let's see what we got. a little bit more heavy calls on GILD, but nothing too crazy. By the way, let me get my XYZ in here. I'll start at 48 cents. Looked like it was bouncing around there. Oh, CLSK. Good call, CLSK. Let's see what the statistics look like. Oh, look at CLSK. We're banking on calls. See, here's one of these really outsized ones. You guys, everyone see this? 3 times the amount of calls as puts on CLSK. Now, that's one that's really outsized. You don't see that a whole lot. So let's go ahead and take a look. CLSK, obviously one of these crypto ones that went crazy and is way down over the last little while. It's tried to build a base. Bitcoin is up today and CLSK is lagging going into earnings. So I kind of like it for that reason alone. Did we see CLSK on Lance's scanner? Did anyone look? Let me check real quick. Just one bullish order for about 173K, but it's way out into the November expiration, so it doesn't really mean a whole lot for us. Expected move on CLSK is not really big enough to put a good trade on, so you would almost have to trade this one with regular calls. I mean, you could do a protective one. Actually, let's check the numbers on that because that's something that I sometimes will do. Let's check the numbers on the 10-10-50. Let me go to 950-1050. Let me go to 910. So this one's actually not bad, guys. Let me show you what I'm doing here. This is looking at a defensive trade on an earnings stock, which is something most people don't do, but it's kind of interesting to check. Sometimes what you'll get is an outsized ROI on a defensive trade because earnings moves it up. This is probably a little too expensive. You can only get about a 15% ROI. But if this was a little juicier, I would actually be open to taking this trade because the cool thing about a trade like this is that you're almost under the entire expected move. Right now, CLSK is at 1071. This would be a $9-10 call. And the expected move is 87 cents. You're almost under the entire expected move. And yet, you could make a 15-16% ROI. If this was more like 25% ROI, I would actually be interested in taking this trade because what you're doing is you're just kind of getting extra meat on the bone for a defensive trade because of earnings. So kind of a nifty way to flip earnings on its head. If you look, you could probably do the same thing on XYZ. So XYZ, expected move $7. You could come down here and instead of looking to trade it up or down, you could actually trade a defensive trade here for around, like this one's 85, 86 cents. All right. So basically what you're getting here is that 20% ROI, even if it moves almost entirely against you. Does that make sense? So you're kind of flipping the volatility on its head. And instead of trying to use the volatility to get you over the line in the sand, you're actually using it to beef up a defensive trade below the current price. Does everyone see that? Give me a yes in the chat just so I can make sure you guys are following what I'm saying there. Because again, this is kind of one of those things where once you learn how to use these options and these structures, there's a lot of cool ways that you can do these trades. And this is the one that I actually do from time to time, especially if it's a stock that I don't mind holding, where I could even exercise one half. Like I did this on Apple last earnings. They had a bad earnings, but I was protected enough below price that I still made like a 25% ROI. Exactly. Income machine style applied to earnings. That's exactly right. So that's another way you can do this. So if you guys want to do that, you could trade like a 69.70. Obviously, as we get right into the last minute here, you're going to get some crazy bid and ask and all that sort of stuff. But we got 2 trades. Did I get filled on my other one? Whoops. Did I get filled here? I didn't get filled. Let me see if I can get filled here in the last second of the market. I've got 30 seconds here to get filled. It's saying I should be getting filled. Price is being a little wonky. All right, I'll I'll pay the 50, you jerks. There we go. The jerks got me for the full 50 cents. I wanted to cheat my way in there and get in for 48 or 49, but the price was not giving it up. And I still actually didn't get fit on this TTD one, even though I'm a couple cents over. Yeah, so I guess my little buy side on TTD didn't get filled. So we'll keep an eye and we'll see what it does. We'll probably see some early jitters on some of these. A lot of times you get some early jitters, like TTD already getting a little bit of a jitter here, up 50 cents. And then obviously we'll see them kind of set in over when the actual earnings reports come out. There's Team, that's at 171. And then we have XYZ, which will probably be the most interesting one here, where we'll get some jitters. Yep, I got filled on O&O right away. So guys, speaking of O&O, we're going to switch gears a little bit because like I mentioned at the beginning, we are trailing two extreme sides of the equation here, where I'm talking about total coin flip earnings trades. And then what I also wanted to do was talk about weekend options, because we get our next trade tomorrow, which has 100% win rate in 2025. So can't really get further apart than total coin flip earnings trades and my highest win rate strategy. But I had, during the debit spread training, and we talked about overnight options, a ton of you asked, what about weekend options? Because I usually only pull that out like maybe once a month and talk about it. But we have our next opportunity tomorrow. All the filters are currently active for a trade alert tomorrow. So I did want to give you guys a chance. If you want to get locked and loaded with weekend options, if you're not familiar with that, we can play that presentation right here, and you can get locked and loaded before tomorrow's opportunity. So hope you guys enjoyed today's earnings action. We're still getting this closing playbook session dialed in, and trying to get the timing and all of that right, so we get enough value and enough fun trading in the mix. And then as always, we'll try to give you an opportunity to talk about what's hot, what's going on. And right now, weekend options has been red hot with our perfect track record still rolling. So hang tight. You guys don't have to go anywhere. If you want to watch the presentation on weekend options, you literally don't go anywhere. Just stay exactly where you're at, and Dave will play it right from here.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Nate. Before we do that, I just a quick 30 seconds of housekeeping. We're going to be closing the public chat during the presentation on the weekend options program. We will be using the direct messaging. I just posted a graphic in the chat that shows you that if you hover over my message, and you'll get that those two little overlapping speech bubbles, that's where you can then message me directly, and I'll be able to answer your questions and get information from you privately during the presentation. So let me get that presentation rolling right now. And you can message me by hovering over my post in the chat and clicking on the two little speech bubbles and message me directly. All right, here we go.
Insane weekend volatility.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike 2024, 2020, like we had not seen that for years. But you're up 100% win rate so far in 2025. Love to see it. Well, if that's you guys, you want in on the action, well, it all starts by taking a close look at.
I will say, guys, I know that the volume is a little bit low on this. You're just going to have to turn your speakers up. It's as cranked as I can get it on this end.
This redacted document. What you're looking at here is a special perk set up by the Chicago Board of Options Exchange just recently. It's a perk that now allows everyday folks to target extra income over the weekend from any regular brokerage account. Now, I'm talking about payouts that the study shows were worth $1,030 on average in extra income each and every weekend. So this means while the rest of the world is left empty-handed on Saturday and Sunday while the stock market is closed, we have an opportunity to target some extra income over the weekend while still getting the most out of life. Like on August 9th, you could have taken a few minutes to place a quick trade before the weekend, hit the leg for some weekend fun. That's what I'm doing this weekend. And came back Monday with an extra $1,052 sitting in the brokerage account from the weekend income. Then the next weekend came, August 16th. You could have set your trade, caught the classic car show over the weekend, and woke up Monday with the crisp $883 in weekend income. Then a few days go by and you can do it all again. Friday, August 23rd, the next Friday, hit a few buttons on the phone or laptop to get in before the weekend hits. Maybe
That's what I'll
catch
be
around
doing
with,
this weekend.
there you go, catch around with golf with some friends. I'm too bad to play golf. I just go to the driving range and that's about it. Try and get past 10 feet. Dinner and live music for the evening and brunch the next morning. Whatever it is you like to do. When Monday came, instead of dreading the start of the week, folks could have come back to an extra $1,090 in weekend income. Pretty awesome. Now, before I get carried away, let me be the first person to say this. I'll say it again, said it a few times today. There's nothing guaranteed in the markets. There's no instant income magic pill. Just like with anything in the stock market, there will be winners and losers along the way. That's why for the next few minutes, I want you to forget about being the next overnight millionaire because financial freedom doesn't happen overnight. It can happen bit by bit, weekend after weekend. And with what my special guest is about to share with you today, well, our hope is that your weekends could be a little more enjoyable, knowing that when Monday hits, we're out of the trade. So think about this. What if there was a way to target an extra $1,030 on average in extra income each and every weekend, all by taking a few minutes to set the position before the weekend hits and clocking out on Monday? Well, thanks to a shocking discovery found inside this special document by today's special guest, it's now possible. So welcome to the quick presentation we're going to have here on weekend options so we can get you set up with the first trade, your first trade to take before the closing bell today. Now, like I mentioned a moment ago, my name is Graham Lindman. You might recognize me from my flagship strategy, the Perfect Apple Trade, which has reached over 100,000 people worldwide, or maybe you've heard of my wrap orders, which has helped folks see doubles in their trading. Now, given my track record, I don't normally take trade recommendations from other people, but the premise of this new way of generating income over the weekend was so different that I had to explore it. It's a legal way to target extra cash over the weekend while most folks are out there making zilch. I don't trade over the weekend. I'm making nothing. So if you're looking for a way to target some extra income to maybe pay for everyday expenses or just boost up the retirement nest egg or just grow the account, that's what I like to do, just grow my account, then this may be perfect for you. Now, the man behind this discovery is no rookie when it comes to the stock market. Not only did he publicly grow a $10,000 stake to north of $50,000 over the course of about 4 months, he did it publicly in Telegram, but he also earned another $100,000 last year in his investment and dividend portfolio alone. And over the last few years, he's been on a mission to help everyday folks tap into the same methods that have been kept away from the average Joe. And just hear some of these stories. These are people who've been taking these weekend options, by the way. Cindy made $1,200 last week. Karen, a winner, as you know, made $1,230. Carl says Nate and his team are doing a tremendous job, up over $4,000. Now, those are some of the stories from students following along with none other than the up-and-coming trading icon,
Wow,
Nate.
trading icon. Wow.
Yeah, and look at that smile. What a good smile there, Nate. Look at that.
Icon. All right. All right. Well, as always, great to be on Opening Playbook and giving out opportunities. And thanks to a huge room today. Love it that you guys are here on a Friday. And today, my goal really is to empower you. That's what my goal is with everything I do, and to show you after just a couple minutes and a couple clicks inside your brokerage account, you really can start targeting your very own weekend cash flow from the stock market, something that I had never done until recently. One that shows the power to pay $1,030 on average each weekend. There's an opportunity. And the timing for this brand new briefing couldn't be any better. Right now, we all know some of the hardest times for folks getting hit with inflation. Costs keep going up. Savings are at the lowest level since 2008. And even if you got a raise last year, as I always say, probably doesn't feel like it. It probably isn't making much of a difference at the end of the day. Thanks to inflation, we're seeing things like credit card debt hit all-time highs, highest since 2008, highest ever, some reports. And that's left folks looking anywhere they can to generate extra income to cover the bills. It's almost impossible to keep up with the ever-rising cost of living anymore, especially when my wife's buying $10 organic milk by the gallon. It's unbelievable. And most folks think that the only way to generate extra income is by picking up a second job at Costco or working overtime hours and late weekend nights. But with what I'm about to share, and my true hope is that you can start targeting your very own weekend cash flow right from the comfort of your sofa or your living room or your RV or whatever it is. And right now, like I said, everyone could use some extra cash flow. It doesn't matter if you have a multi-million-dollar retirement account or just starting out with a few $1,000s. All you need is a standard brokerage account, internet connection, or just, service on your cell phone, and a few minutes to set the trade before the weekend every Friday. In just a few minutes, I'm going to help you get started with your first chance at weekend cash flow. Before we get there, let's take a walk back down memory lane here, going back to September of last year. Now, going in the month of September, the stock market took a pretty ugly hit. I'm sure you guys remember what August looked like last year. Let's say someone had $5,000 invested, which is the amount we'll use for all the trade examples that we go through today. At the beginning of September, the S&P was already in the middle of a pretty ugly fall. Folks taking that trusty buy and hold route would have been down about $204 by the first, week there just in September. But if you'd have went with the weekend cash flow method instead, very different story for the first week of September. While the S&P 500 was plummeting, you could have actually ended up with a $3,039 trade over the weekend. That's a juicy one there. And when the next weekend rolled around, not much different. Weekend of September 16th, the market, gold, Bitcoin, all flat over the weekend, really earning next to nothing as you're holding anything. But with what I'm going to show you today, using that same weekend, you could have actually hit it out of the park on this particular trade. In this case, by Monday morning, would have had another $803 sitting in your account on September 16th.
That's awesome. Nate, between those two trades alone, we're looking at $3,842 in extra income. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me, an extra $3,800, especially after just 2 weekends, that's a meaningful chunk of change. Since the pandemic, we've seen this. The cost of living has gone skyward, out of control. Housing prices are ridiculous. We've watched
They are ridiculous.
Average cost of a new mortgage went from $1,400 a month to $2,317 a month. That's a huge, huge difference. It's $900 more every single month. And it's not like people have a lot of extra change laying around to cover the difference, not unless you're sitting on a pretty good nest egg to begin with. And wouldn't you much rather invest that $900 a month than blow it on a mortgage? It's just painful. But folks who would have taken advantage of the weekend cash flow method could have more than covered the cost of the average monthly mortgage without needing to slave away at a desk job, working extra hours to make it happen. Instead, you could have done it all while enjoying life to the fullest over the weekend. Maybe you live by the beach and you can go hit a hammock like this guy. And keep in mind that $3,842 would have come while every major index, crypto, and even bonds were in the toilet. So, Nate, can you share a little bit more about how this is all possible?
All right, absolutely. First, let me just be clear about this. If you have a job, I'm certainly not telling you to quit it. If you've been steadily saving for retirement, like I know most of you in here are, please don't stop doing that. What I'm sharing today, like almost everything I do, is meant to help supplement your income. Okay, so this is an edge that's meant to add to what you're doing. And it's using a technique that I really don't think anyone else is using for these weekend opportunities. And if you're here right now, you're probably a pretty smart individual. Hopefully all of our people are. And you know what I'm about to say next, which is that there's always risk in any strategy, winning weeks and losing weeks. That's why we worked extra hard to optimize the method that's producing this weekend cash flow. Now, of course, no one can guarantee future returns, but the cool thing is when you account for all of the weekends, okay, so winners and losers included from our entire study, we're looking at what could have been an extra $1,030 in extra income each weekend. We've had an opportunity going all the way back through our study, just like the next weekend, September 20th. Had you taken a few minutes to place the trade before the markets closed on Friday, just like we'll do today, you could have headed out to catch your favorite team playing on Saturday, then relaxed a bit on Sunday. That was a great game, by the way. We crushed SMU. Yeah.
Nice hat.
It was like literally 5 degrees. And then come back after the weekend, after crushing SMU in a college playoff game, to a nice $847 sitting there. No offense to SMU fans. They're actually a great school, but it was great to see them crush them. Anyway, following weekend, we had September 27th. Maybe place a quick trade from the phone. We're playing some golf, getting out there on the course early on a Friday, which I was hoping to do today. We'll see. And then hit another $1,000 by the time Monday rolled around.
Nate, let me just pause you again real quick. Showed us a couple more awesome trades. Now, the average household, to go back on this, $5,000 a month in expenses. And I think that's a pretty good, I know my household is slightly over that amount.
Slightly. I wish my house was $5,000.
Yeah. Now, I'm talking about things like healthcare, food, transportation, clothing, electricity, just the bare necessities. Meanwhile, the average monthly income in the U.S. really hasn't grown that much over the last few years, $4,340 a month. Now, if you look at that, you can do quick math and say, this doesn't really add up. People can't really keep up. It's mathematically impossible, and it's a huge income gap many folks can't fill right now. And maybe, I hope no one here is feeling super behind, but maybe you just feel like you can't save as much, and that's a big deal. But your weekend cash flow method could help everyday people help fill the income cap and then some, hopefully grow their income. In the month of September alone, with the trades that happened back to back to back, we're looking at what could have been more than the average Joe brings in each month. So 1 month with the weekend cash flow, $5,667. Pretty awesome. And in this example for that month, more than enough to cover the average monthly expenses, meaning the money that you worked your tail off to earn